Well, the story is that I went to my GP on the 29th of November 2012 because I had this sort of pigmented patch suddenly appear on this part of my face, and there was a very tiny spot in the middle of it. And my wife and my son have both said, you really ought to go and get that checked out. So I went to my GP, and I was, unfortunately my own doctor was not on duty. I saw a locum lady GP, and she said, well, there's nothing to worry about. I said, well, it's got this tiny spot in the middle of it. She said, we all get spots, you know. So I was reassured. And I went off. I was a cricket umpire at that time, so I spent a lot of time in the sun, probably not wearing enough sun cream. And this spot started getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it started weeping, and I thought, unfortunately I'd obviously let it go too long. It was probably August before I actually went back to my doctor and I said, well, I think, you know, this needs looking at again. And he said, yes, I think it looks like a basal cell carcinoma, probably the nodular type, but it's, you know, we'll refer you, but, you know, he didn't think it was obviously a melanoma. And I got an appointment to go and see a dermatologist several months later. But obviously by this time I'm getting a bit concerned, and I suddenly, by a bit of feeling, I feel I've got a lump in my neck. So I go back. My own doctor was actually on holiday then. I saw my wife's doctor, and she says, yeah, well, it's, the lump in the neck is concerning. If it doesn't go down, I actually got some antibiotic ointment to put on the spot. She said, just in case that's just a reaction to the spot, tried that for a week, to come back in a week's time. So I came back in a week's time, no change. She said, right, I'm fast track. So went, appointment the next day. 2 days later, I'm in Bristol Dermatology at BRI, and I saw Mr. Dunhill, consultant, and I gave him the story so far, and he said, well, I agree it looks like a basal cell carcinoma, he said, but I think it might be sitting on a melanoma. Right. And if you like, I'll take it out here and now. But I didn't really know about melanomas at all at that stage. So I have to go and sort of put a surgical top on and lie on my bed and put a local anaesthetic, and it's removed. And after it's been removed, told to go and sit down in the waiting room, and there's lots of other people waiting for his normal sort of consultation. And I hear his, she said, we've got to wait for half an hour before you can go home. And I hear his assistant come out and say to all the other people in the waiting room, well, Mr. Dunhill will see you today. We're a bit behind because there's been an unexpected interruption in his surgery. So I'm thinking, well, he's obviously taking a snap decision to take that out straight away. Maybe it is serious. So he said, basically, come back in 10 days' time. So went back in 10 days' time, and he said, well, I'm afraid it's definitely melanoma. And the fact that you've got this lump in your neck, it may well have spread to your lymph glands, and we'll have to send you to our sort of neck specialists. They deal with it at Frenchay, in the sort of plastic surgery and skincare department there. And this was literally about 3 or 4 days before my children's 40th birthday. I have triplets. And so we didn't tell them until after the birthday party. We had a big birthday party in London where they all lived. And then, obviously, it follows on. I have the biopsy on the lymph node in my neck. That proves it's already gone there. So I then get referred to Mr. Orlando, who explains that the next step is normally neck dissection and a wider incision around the original wound. So on the 23rd of October 2013, I have the neck dissection and a wider excision, and he thinks he's got it all, and we've got a good chance of not spreading further at that stage. I have regular follow-ups, and he also referred me down to the Bristol Oncology Centre, and I met Dr. Herbert to discuss the possibility of additional radiotherapy. After a lot of discussion, we decided not to bother with the radiotherapy on the neck, because I thought, well, the melanoma is on my face rather than my neck. They've done the neck dissection. Obviously there are possible complications too if you had radiotherapy in that area, saliva glands and all sort of things. So decided not to bother. Later I had a CT scan or an MRI scan because I've also got a benign tumour, brain tumour, a meningioma. They were concerned that there'd be lumps I had suddenly coming up on my face. And to cut a long story short, I get a CT scan or an MRI scan done, which confirms I've got these other lumps, melanoma deposits. See my surgeon, he thinks, I don't like the look of those, so they'll have to come out. And when I see him the following Thursday, it was on a Friday, and next Thursday I'm in the hospital, and he said I could actually see those have grown in the 6 days since I last saw you. The CT scan has confirmed what I thought it probably would, is that it's metastasised around your body. You've got tumours in your lungs, your liver, your spleen and your vertebrae. And there's nothing more I can do for you surgically. And you suddenly realise from the way the conversation is going, you've got to ask the question which you'd hope you'd never have to ask, which is, well, how long have I got? And he said, well, without treatment, 3 to 6 months. And that does suddenly hit you hard. My original melanoma was a Breslow depth of 4.6 millimetres, which is quite large on the scale. If we give you 2 doses of dacarbazine and they're proved not to work, then I can get funding authorization to use this new drug, immunotherapy called ipilimumab, which as I understood it, has been licensed by NICE, but it's not authorised as a first line of attack at that point in time, although it was likely to be in October that year. I managed to get an appointment to go back to see him a week later because I had no other side effects, and I couldn't feel it was doing any good, and I had a lump, a melanoma deposit coming up under my chin, which I understand now is obviously a lymph node under the chin, which is getting melanoma deposit building up in it. And so it's exactly a week after my first dose of dacarbazine. I see Dr. Herbert again, and I said, well, the only way I can describe my feeling is that I feel as if I'm being strangled alive. And he said, well, I'll tell you what I will do. Instead of having a second dose of dacarbazine in 2 weeks' time, I'll give you your first dose of ipilimumab. And that's got a 50% chance of working, although it can take up to 3 months to be fully effective. So I suddenly feeling a lot happier. That first week, I was absolutely desperate. But once I got the thought I was on a better drug, and I was slightly surprised that when I went to have that dose of ipilimumab, I was told that I had to go in twice, whereas with the dacarbazine, I only went in once, was given the drug intravenously in the back of the hand. With the ipilimumab, I had to go in early in the morning to check that I was actually physically fit enough to have the drug, because it was, as the nurse said at the time, it was too expensive to waste. And it was in the afternoon, and I asked the nurse who was actually administering the drug, well, how expensive is it? She said, well, it's made up according to your weight and height. And she said, I think your dose today cost about £30,000. So I was I suddenly felt very humbled that, you know, that much was being invested in me, and I felt very lucky. I'd had blood tests ready for my third dose, and then I got a phone call to say that the blood levels related to my liver were way out of line, and I had to have an emergency steroid injection. At this point in time, after my sort of dire prognosis, my daughter, who was planning to get married the following year, the day after, she was visiting a potential venue for the wedding, and they said, well, unfortunately, we were sort of booked up 2 years in advance. And she said, well, haven't you got anything? She said, well, we've got a cancellation for the 20th of September. And she said, I'll have it. And so she organised a wedding in 6 weeks. So that was my first aim, to walk my daughter down the aisle. And so that I did literally 8 days after my second ipilimumab injection. So I thought, well, I should be fit enough to do that, so that's good. And he came to see me and said, well, look, this is the case is that perceived wisdom is you need 4 doses, but everybody's metabolism is different, and you may only need 3 doses, or in fact in your case only 2 doses. And I can't give you any more ipilimumab because you've had an overreaction. So all I can do is monitor you from now on. So I was then being scanned every 2 to 3 months to start with. The scans for the first 9-12 months showed that my tumours were reducing rapidly, reduced to at least 50% of their original size. And I must admit, when I had the overreaction, I thought, well, if it's attacking my liver is where I had some tumours, so that must be a good thing. I seem to have stabilised, because although they reduced by 50% to start with, after that they aren't reducing, but they aren't increasing either. The amazing thing is that since it's probably about November 2014, when I finished the course of steroids, I've not taken any prescribed medication whatsoever. At the time when I got the dire prognosis, obviously you realise it's stage 4 and it could be terminal. Then I approached the local cancer charity in the Bristol area, Penny Bron, and got some really helpful advice. And their holistic approach. So it's a question of diet and exercise and mindfulness and surrounding yourself with friends and family and all this sort of thing, which I found incredibly useful. I'd say that when my mother died, suddenly at 71, and I was never able to tell her how much I loved her. But I said to my children, at least I've got the opportunity still to tell you how much I love you, and how much you've meant to us, and how great it has been to have a loving family where we're still friends with each other, and we still go on holiday regularly together.